Hello, let's learn some algebra. I'm Mr. Chu, and I call my algebra curriculum Bare Algebra. I number this lesson, but the topic of it is writing and solving two-step equations based on geometry or area and perimeter problems. So in example 1, it says the perimeter of a rectangle is 48 feet. The length is 15 feet. Find the width. So I've got a question mark here. I put the perimeter is 48 on the inside. I put a length here. That's my L for length. Remember, perimeter is like if you're building a fence. So if you're coming all the way around and you're adding, you start here and you add this length to this width, to this length, to this width. So the perimeter is length plus width plus length plus width. But usually, we don't use that formula. Usually we say that we've got two lengths and we've got two width, and that is the shortcut formula. So that's a formula I'm going to use. So let's use it and solve this. So my perimeter formula is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. Now, I use the substitution property of equality to substitute the value for P, which is 48 feet, and then I have 2 times, and I usually just put a parentheses there where that P was, and I put that 48 in there. And then I know the length is 15 feet, but I don't know the width, so I just leave that variable, and my goal is to solve for W. All right, so I have to do my order of operations or simplification. It's not really order of operations. It would be if I had this value. When I check it, I will have to use the order of operations. So I'm going to simplify this by multiplying 2 times 15 feet. So I have 48 feet equals 2 times 15 is 30 feet plus 2W. Now I need to solve this by using inverse operations. This ends up being a two-step equation, which I had some other videos with two-step equations. So I need to take the 30 feet added to the 2W and move the 30 feet from the right side of the equation to the left side by using inverse operations, or the opposite of what's happening to the 30 feet. Well, the 30 feet is being added. The opposite of adding 30 feet is to subtract 30 feet. And then when in my earlier videos, I had you listing every reason. That reason is the subtraction property of equality. And in every problem, you don't always have to list your reasons. Sometimes you do. So this 30 feet minus 30 feet ends up being 0 here. And 0 plus 2W is 2W. And that equals 48 feet minus 30 feet, which is 18 feet. Now, it says 18 feet equals 2W, and I want 1W. So you do the inverse operation, the inverse of multiplying by 2. That's the opposite of multiplying by 2, which means you divide by 2. So I'm going to divide the right and the left by 2, and 2 over 2 is 1, and so I've got my W here. And 18 divided by 2 is 9 feet. And that is my answer. Can't see the 9 feet very well, so let me erase that so that it looks proper. 9 feet equals W. So what can I do? I can go over here now, and I can say, I know that this is 9. I know that I've got a 9 right here. And I know down here I've got a 15. So add them up. 15 plus 9 plus 15 plus 9, does that equal 48? We're right here, 2 times 15, which is 30, plus 2 times 9, which is 18, and 30 plus 18 is 48. And that is the answer. All right, So it took 5 minutes to do that problem. Now let's see if we can do this one at least in 5 minutes or less. Example 2. Now we're going to talk about the area. The area of a triangle is 25 inches squared. The height is 10 inches. Find the base. So remember, when you have the height and a base in a triangle, the height and base have to intersect at a right angle called perpendicular. That's how you have an altitude, which is the height. So we know the area is 25 inches squared. We know the height is 10, and they're asking us to find the base. All right. So the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. Now I'll have another video at some point, either in my tray arithmetic or in my bare algebra, where we derive this formula. That is the formula for the area of a triangle. And sometimes I'll put a little triangle here just to identify it, especially if I've got more than one kind of area. So I'm going to use the substitution property of equality to substitute the value for B. Oh, I don't have a value for B, so I'll just write it here. And the value for H, I do have a value for H. Do I have a value for A? Yes, it's 25 inches squared. So when you're substituting, you got to substitute all values. All right, now I've got to solve this two-step equation. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take half of B or half of 10, because you can multiply in any order. So since you can multiply in any order, let's just write it like that. This is called the commutative property of multiplication. That is a property that we go over in another video. So now I can take 1/2 of 10, and I can write inches squared as inches, and then raised up for times, inches. Half of 10 is 5, and this is inches here. I left that out. I need to make sure I have all of my dimensions in here. So half of 10 inches is 5 inches, and then I'm multiplying by B. All right, now I want to find what B is, find the base. So I have to undo whatever we're multiplying B by in that one-step equation now. It was two-step up here. This is one step now. So I'm going to, and I'll use a different color just so it stands out, divide this side by 5 inches using the division property of equality. And when you divide one side of an equation by a number and it's inches, I've got to divide this side by 5 inches. So some teachers will teach you to cancel this out. It's really a common factor that ends up being 1/1. The inches, same thing. Common factor of dividing the numerator and denominator by inches, dividing it by 5. And we've got 1 times 1 times B divided by 1 times 1, which equals B. My inches here cancels the same way, as some teachers will say. And then 5 goes into 5 one time. That's a common factor of 5. So 5 inches times 1/1 is 5 inches. So there is my answer. Let's see if it makes sense. So if we come up here and we put the 5 inches in here, we're saying that 1/2 of 10 times 5 is 25, and it is. So we know that is correct. Okay, so now what I always do toward the end, I always give you a couple of student practice problems. So I will just modify these here. This would be practice number 1, and I'm going to change the numbers here. We still use the same formula. Now the numbers are going to be different. And over here, we'll use the same formula, but the numbers will be different to see if you can try one on your own to get it right after seeing us work the examples. All right. So, this is different and this is different. This is different and this is different. All right. So here are the problems. I got them on a piece of paper here. So it says the perimeter is 96 meters. And it says that the width is 20. Meters. And it wants you to find the length. So you're doing it the same exact way, only now you're finding L. And we know that this is 96 meters in here. The one with the triangle, it says this is practice number 2. And it says the area of a triangle is 56 yards squared. And it says the base is 8 yards. Find the height. So you still use the formulas. I've got the formula here. And you just plug it in. So we don't know the height now, so we'll put a question mark there. We know the base here is 8 yards. And we know the area is 56 yards squared. So substitute, write the equations, and solve. I give you both your equations. Not that hard. It's just a matter of practicing it. And you will get better if you practice your algebra. I am Mr. Chu. There is a link down here in the corner of my YouTube video where you can subscribe. There will be a link come up here toward the end of these 2 problems worked. And down here will be the other equation videos if you want to click on them. I am Mr. Chu, and I want to help you learn algebra. So stay tuned, watch my videos, and I'll teach you an easier way to do the algebra in bare algebra. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.